Hi, hello folks, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm gonna keep admitting people as we trickle in throughout the event. Um, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. My name is Edie Myers-Power, and I'm the program manager at NAMI Eastside. Thanks so much for being here. This is our monthly educational Evergreen Health sponsored forum on different topics of mental health. Tonight I have the pleasure of introducing one of our youth ambassadors and also a freshman at Western Washington University, Chashni Golla. She has a presentation for us tonight on the long-term effects of COVID-19 on youth mental health. So, Chashni, I'll go ahead and pass things over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Hi everyone. My name's Chashni. I'm a freshman at Western, like Edie said. And I'm currently majoring in psychology, thinking about a possible minor or double major in data science. And just to introduce myself a little bit, I've been a part of NAMI for a few years now. I started in 2023 by helping produce the Family to Family program at NAMI. And I got more involved with the Youth Ambassador program and then the Youth Advisory Board for NAMI Washington. And then I'm currently hoping to help out as an intern this summer at for NAMI Washington. And I'm going to be presenting about the long-term effects of COVID-19 on youth mental health. And I recently presented this at NAMI Eastside's Youth Mental Health Conference. So I'm really excited to represent it to you all again today. Um, just to start us off, I just want to say, like, we've returned to this sense of normalcy that we feel post-COVID, where we're not wearing masks anymore. It's not as intense, our focus on like cleanliness and all of that. But our youth are still struggling with mental illness, and mental illness is on the rise. And I wanted to do some research on why and kind of just understand why. But yeah, next slide. Okay, so to start us off, I wanted to talk about my journey with anxiety and my story. When the pandemic started, I was 13 years old. I was just getting out of eighth grade, and that was the first time I recognized anxiety in myself. I obsessed over every aspect of cleanliness from COVID, like many others, and that overflowed into other aspects of my life, in academics and my hobbies and more. And I just lost interest in things because I kept overthinking my own thoughts. I struggled a lot with being in my own head all the time. I struggled with isolation. And now, 5 years later, I've found coping mechanisms. I've reached out for help. But during that time, was where my journey with mental illness started. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I just wanted to get you all started with this interactive. So if you scan the QR code or Edie, if you can put the link in the chat. Yeah, just what is the first emotion that comes to mind when you think of COVID? And I'll give you all a few minutes to respond.
Okay, and I'm gonna stop sharing here so I can go to the other window
Okay,
and get the link, and then I will put it in the chat for you guys.
sounds good.
And I'll reshare in a second once I get it up. Here in the word cloud link for participating. Again, the question is, what first emotion that comes to mind when you think of COVID? And I'll send this one more time because we just had someone join the word cloud. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of COVID? And then I will reshare this. See that word cloud? Very nice.
Yes, I can see it.
I'm also going to add another one in here. I will say, um, mm, fear's getting big there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for responding. Um, so clearly, as we can see, there's a really wide range of emotions here. I see fear, uncertainty, sadness, anxiety, depression. Yeah, these are all things that I definitely remember feeling during COVID. And I think a lot of this was felt by our youth, and that led to that spike in youth mental illness during that time. So I think we can switch back to the presentation.
Take one moment just to switch my
Okay.
screen back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no worries.
Sorry, my computer's loading a little slow.
No worries.
Okay, share. All right, there you go.
Okay, and then we can switch to the next slide. Okay, so I just wanted to share this chart with you all. This is a chart showing trends in mental illness from 2016 to 2023. And as you can see on the chart in 2020, if you look at the dark blue line, you can see that in 2020 there was a spike and a pretty big increase in mental illness. And this increase continues in later years. And I was really curious as to why, even after we felt like we were returning back to school, returning back to work, and things felt more normal, why were youth struggling so much with mental illness? Next slide. So yeah, why are these mental health effects continuing? From my research, I understood that uncertainty about the future was a really big cause. There's uncertainty that youth are feeling in regards to climate change, economic instability, political unrest, and systemic barriers. And systemic barriers are put in place and create even more insecurity for youth. Next slide, please. So, what are systemic barriers? Systemic barriers are institutionalized policies and norms that create and maintain inequality and oppression based on race, gender, class, disability, and many more factors. They create direct impacts and they lead to a lack of access to mental health care. In schools, especially, we lack sufficient counselors to address every student's needs, no matter how small. I've had a lot of experience with people who go to their counselors at school and the counselors aren't able to help them because their situation isn't dire enough or their situation is just not a priority because there's someone who needs help more, which is a really big issue that is just systemically ingrained. And then the negative influence of social media and technology. um, Youth's need for escapism leads to their use of social media, and this use is increasing because a lot of big corporations are advertising social media to youth specifically, and so they're using it, and so their use of social media leads to their need for a perfect life and just constant comparison to others that is really unhealthy for their mental health. Um, in regards to increasing economic inequality, the increasing economic gap is causing financial struggles for a lot of providers and parents. And that is felt by youth a lot. And these financial struggles create a sense of uncertainty in youth's lives because they aren't able to feel stable in their own homes. In regards to climate change, climate anxiety is a really big problem that is increasing because the state of our planet is not good, and the future of the planet concerns a lot of the young population because that's what we're being left with. And it contributes to feelings of constant helplessness and worsening mental illness. Um, and then policy changes that directly and negatively impact minorities. These are changes in regards to immigration, education, racial justice, and more. And they all affect communities that already face discrimination and systemic problems. And they cause these communities to, as a whole, feel frustration and fear and just not knowing what their futures look like. And that is felt by youth and more things like that. And so this uncertainty that we felt in the first part of the pandemic where we were like, oh, when are we going to go back to school? When are we going to go back to work? That uncertainty is still being felt by youth today because their futures are still uncertain because they don't know where the future of the planet is going or where the next policy change is going to be and how it's going to impact their family. And that uncertainty is helping cause this spike in mental illness. And so we need to dismantle the harmful barriers that are rooted in our society. So, how can we do that? Next slide. So, the theme of the mental health conference was creating waves. And so, my this is my creating waves slide. I wanted to help provide real concrete ways that youth can make impact. And so um, there, the three ways that I found were most impactful were addressing systemic barriers through policy, community, and self-care. Through policy, youth can attend events like Lobby Day. NAMI has a really great Lobby Day that a lot of youth attended this year, but legislators love to hear from youth, especially in Washington. They really care and value youth opinions. And connecting with legislators to communicate problems that are important to them really creates this amazing impact that we have seen in this legislative session. Organizing fundraisers for organizations that youth care about is really important because, especially with the funding and budget cuts, the organizations definitely need our help. And so organizing fundraisers is a really great way to get involved. And then this one's not on there, but legislative internships are also a really good way to get involved. And then in regards to community, engaging with organizations in your community, that kind of ties back to that fundraisers aspect. And then replacing the push for hyper independence with an even bigger push for community. Um, this is a really big one, especially in the East Side area, because we have a really big mindset of toxic productivity and a really big push for ambition and competition with others. Because a lot of focus in our schools is getting into the very best college and getting the best internships for the summer. And while those are all really important to have, it's also so important to lean on each other and have um, have a really good community base that we can lean on for support and know that we're not alone in all of the things that we're struggling with. And then lastly, in regards to self-care, the world can't be fixed in a day. Unfortunately, it is a slow and gradual battle, and we need to take care of ourselves in the process of our journey to a better world. This is something that I struggle with, especially when I have a ton of assignments to do, or it's like midterm or final season, and I'm like, oh my God, everything's going to dust. And then I like read a news article and I'm like, oh my God, the world's ending. But I always have to remind myself that if we don't take care of ourselves and we don't prioritize rest and self-care, then we can't bring the world to a better place. And then on that note, Edie, if you want to go to the next slide, I wanted to invite you all to either share in the group chat or share, sorry, not in the group chat, in the chat or out loud if you want to raise your hand and Edie or I can unmute you and you can share about your favorite coping mechanism. And I can give everyone a few minutes to think about that as well. Let's take like 2 minutes to think about coping mechanisms and then we can share.
Hi, Chashni. Do
Hello.
you
Do you
hear
want
me?
to? Yes, I can hear you.
Good evening, all, on this session, everyone participating. I appreciate it's a wonderful topic to come across. Actually, it is the fear of COVID is still lurking often, and we're afraid anxiety, tension. So, in this context, last Chashni has asked, do you have something to share? In India, we have ourselves, myself and my wife Rebecca. We both have involved in the in helping this the whole situation. In the sense, people were migrating, walking. They don't have a transport. They don't have even water to drink. They don't have money. They don't. So huge population is walking to their home city, home villages, and all that. So in that context, we involved with distributing money, water from our pocket because we can't reach others and raise funds that time. Then we distributed money, food, water, tea, and all that by going to the remote place where people were walking away from the city. So that's one thing. Then second thing is serve. Every morning, every evening, we would cook tea and take it to the places where people are unreached, whom nobody can reach. That is the second thing we did. So cooking tea and serving people. These are the main, yeah, and sharing the health information. That is the most important. Suppose I know yoga. Through yoga, how I can one can protect. Through yoga, how one can protect from COVID. Those measures we to the great extent I have shared, and these are good forever. As long as we have these kinds of biological threats, these are very good. Thank you. I rest.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. If anyone else would like to unmute and share, that would be great. Um, and I think I can read some of the responses from the chat as well. Um, okay. We have a lot of outdoor activities and meeting with friends. Going outdoors seems to be a big one. Listening to music and spending time with pets is also really, really great. It's a really great way to cope. Um, and yeah, okay. I'm gonna share my favorite coping mechanism. Um, so I really like to visualize my anxiety. So when I feel anxious, I feel my anxiety like in my chest right below my diaphragm, and I think um I visualize it as like a tight ball. And so when I take a deep breath, um, I like to visualize it like kind of flowing out through my fingertips. But yeah, that's my favorite one. Um, and okay, I think we have another response in the chat. Okay, yeah. This person said, I love walks, trails with family and friends, and meditation. Meditation is a really big one. And um, yeah, meditation, yoga, all of those are really good mindfulness practices as well. Okay, yeah, okay. That is pretty much it for my presentation, and I wanted to open it up to any questions that anyone had um, about anything in my presentation, anything um, in regards to mental health or any of the youth programs that I'm a part of, or anything.
Hi, Chashni.
Hi.
So yes, I wanted to ask about your programs that you showed, I think in some previous slides. So I wanted to know if like those are the ones you're working on, or what's the plan? Like, are you gonna tackle them one by one? Like, okay, what are the youth-led organization? How do we do the fundraising you spoke about? Is it part of your next stage evolution from this to like you have identified those programs? Are you gonna work more on those, or you're already working on it?
I think I'm working a little bit with some of that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely involved in like the policy side where I attended lobby day and then I um have continued to like email legislators and ask them for continued funding for NAMI and lobbying for bills that I care about. Um, but in regards to organizations, I think the biggest thing I've done is just help volunteer for a few organizations, one of them being NAMI. Um, and yeah, in regards to other things, I think I haven't been as involved in like fundraising or anything. But NAMI Walks is coming up, so that's a big
Mm-hmm.
fundraising event for NAMI. But yeah.
Thank you. And I would love to know more later, so I won't hijack the question part,
Yes, for sure.
but about the lobby day and what you guys do there in
Yes.
detail. Yeah,
Yeah.
but later on, maybe.
Okay. I
Yeah,
mean, I
I
can,
will
yeah.
I'll share the link in the chat for
Okay.
our NAMI Walks, our team page for NAMI Eastside. I'll go ahead and share the link in the chat, and then if you have some more questions later, we can definitely circle back to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, Hey, Chashni, I just wanted to add, I really like the topic of when you said create waves. Thank you for creating this awareness and really appreciate on how you were able to relate what you went through and how it impacts us. This is an eye opener, just very openly. She is my daughter, but this is a real different self of her that I've seen through this program. So, really appreciate how she's bringing this, and it's an eye opener for us as parents to understand our children, what they are going through during these tough times.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
To
Okay.
I have I was just gonna say
Oh,
I have to
yes.
agree with you. I wanted to put on the point of the making waves with this slide that we have up here. Chashni, you did a really great job of just highlighting how a wave can be something really small and a wave can also be something on a much larger scale, right? You've got different ways of making waves in your community based on, everybody's capacity is going to be different depending on the day. Everybody's, energy level and ability to make a wave in the community is
Hmm.
going to be different, and so it's really great to highlight all these different ways, especially the self-care piece, because you are 100% right. If we are not showing up for ourselves and taking care of ourselves, there's no way that we can show up for our community or show up for others. So yeah, just really wanted to highlight that, um yeah, I didn't know if you had something to say, but I do have another question for you if you would like me to do that too.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that I think especially with like the like world that we're in right now, everything is like literally made to like tire us out and keep us to a point where like we can't do anything except like go to school and like work and then just like I don't know, just come home and like just we're just too tired to do anything else. And that's like it's literally curated to make us do that, but we need to fight back by being restful, taking care of ourselves, leaning on community in a world that is trying to further divide us. But yeah.
Hello, that's wonderful. What all I have either heard from each one of you, every one of you. I'm
Yeah.
very, I'm very happy. We all have great concerns about this global happening, that is COVID-19. At the same time, as a mentor, as a member of a mental health organization, and with a deep concern, I wish to know whether Chashni would be preparing any document on self-care, how to make a self-care, as well as a document on plans to cope with caring for others, how to care for others. So these, do you have a plan on this, basing on the reviews, perhaps what World Health Organization has done, or different governments have done, basing on this? Of course, it's a huge project, but at least some beginning. Would you like to propose to do something like that? It may be useful for the whole world. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not something I really thought about, but I think um definitely something that is worth thinking about. And yeah, I would love to do something like that. So it's a good idea for sure. Yeah. Okay, Edie, if you wanted to ask your question, I know you had one.
Yeah, for sure. So my question for you is just you shared like kind of personally about your own anxiety throughout the COVID process. And as like NAMI especially is very, but we really emphasize like sharing your personal story. So why do you think that sharing your personal story like makes more of an impact when we're having discussions like this, when we're talking about this, when we're talking about impacts of COVID on mental health in the community space? Why do you think sharing your personal experience is important?
Oh, I thought it was unmute or I thought it was muted, but sorry about that. I think sharing personal experiences about mental health is really important because it increases awareness and diversity in the stories that we hear. Because a lot of the time um, we hear about everyone's struggles with mental health, but I think um, opening up and actually just being vulnerable about it is something that we still need to work on. Um, and everyone has a different story in regards to mental health. Like, even if you aren't personally experiencing something that relates to mental health, um, there you there's always someone who in your life you've seen maybe experience something with mental health, someone you care about, someone you maybe just knew in high school or something like that. But sharing and hearing about these lived experiences can help other people in similar situations feel less alone. And that's a really big part of um, sharing my story and just like encouraging people to share their stories as well. Yeah. Um, if anyone else has any more questions, we can read those or not read those, I answer those.
I'm happy to ask another one too. Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have one question. So I'll ask, what do you suggest coping mechanism for siblings who are younger to you, or people who are still younger to you? That's all I would say. Like who are in middle school, early high school. What do you suggest for them?
Yeah, I think um that stage of life is just like already really confusing because they're just, entering that new phase of being in high school, being with people who are like about to go to college, and just like seeing that is so overwhelming. I know it was for me, and it was like, whoa, like what do I do with the rest of my life? Um, but kind of just the thing that helped me the most, and I think is a really good coping mechanism, was like knowing the circle of control, like writing out two big circles and then doing like what is actually in your control in the middle circle, and then what you feel like is in your control but isn't really in the outer one, is something that really helped me because um, a lot of the struggles of our youth today are like hyper focused on, again, that getting into the best college or having the best grades or internships. And I think that these experiences can or that writing those experiences down, writing those circle of control things down can really help, just like seeing it, even just seeing it in words on a paper can really help, just provide like a coping mechanism, even if there isn't things that are in their control. But yeah. Okay, I see someone with a hand raised.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can ask your question if, yeah. Maybe. Oh, okay. Do you want to just type the question in the chat?
I'm gonna double check and make sure that's not something on our end preventing you
Okay.
from understanding. I don't think it should be, but
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry about that. That's odd.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. We got time. So if you're typing it in a
Yeah.
chat, that's great.
Okay. The question is, what do you recommend for being a supportive person slash friend people can talk to if they're struggling with mental health? That's a good question. Um, I think, hold on, I have to collect my thoughts on this. Okay. I think a really big thing that I've noticed in my friends and that I've done as a friend is just um, checking in. And I know that's something that people say a lot in regards to just like sending that quick text, like, how are you doing? How are you really feeling, But I think all of all of that really does impact and does help people know that even if they're not willing to share it in that moment, they know that they have an option to come to you and share maybe what they're going through or what they're struggling with, if they feel like they are going through something or they need something, like help from you or a chat or something like that. And I think also something that is really important is just like having resources ready. Not like a ton of like um I don't know, like a whole list of links or anything, but maybe just like a helpline or like uh, something that they can just turn to if they don't feel like sharing with someone that they are close with and they want to share anonymously. That's something that I think um, there are a lot of resources like that out there, but having a friend send that to you and that's like, oh, like I trust this person. And so this resource that they sent me must be something that I can use and that I think is helpful for me. But yeah, I think being a supportive friend is um, really important, especially that with that community aspect again. But yeah, thank you for your question.
Chashni, I wanted to add to that. If anybody's interested, we do have a couple of trainings that we do at NAMI Eastside as well. So if you're struggling to know how to talk to people that you care about, support them in their mental health, we have a mental health first aid training that we do a couple times a month. And though that there's a link to that, so you can see that. And then there's also a suicide prevention training that we do about once a quarter. So that, and then there's a link to that, our upcoming May class as well. So these are also like great ways to just kind of have like formal training on like what's the
Hmm.
best way for me to talk to people? Like how can I be the most supportive friend that I can be? So if that's helpful to anybody or if anybody's interested, also feel free to ask questions about that too. And then it looks like you have another question, Chashni.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think the family to family class was similar to what Edie is talking about. So I think that was really an amazing um, group of people, and it's a really great thing that NAMI offers all for free. And it's yeah, really great. Okay, let's see this next question. Okay, this one is, in this busy world, how can we motivate kids to talk about mental health? Do you have some suggestions for mental health activities for kids in middle school or high school? Um, I think motivating kids to talk about mental health is super important. I think bringing awareness, especially as young as possible, is honestly just what will help people find community and safe spaces where they feel like they can reach out for help. Um, and so this is a really great question. I think motivating kids to talk about mental health um, is always going to be a struggle because a lot of the time kids are just trying really just so hard to fit in with others and just be like quote unquote normal, even though that's not really a thing. But just being like supportive teachers, supportive friends, and having that again sense of community for children and for kids that um, especially need it um, is a really important way to motivate kids to talk about mental health and creating more safe spaces, especially in middle school and high school environments where people can share their vulnerabilities. And then just also making it more normal to share stories about mental health, which kind of goes back to that other question about why sharing stories is so important. Having even just having a peer or a kid who is willing to share their story is something that I think would help kids be willing to open up more, because once they see someone in their class or in their grade doing it, they're like, oh, this is normal. This is something that I can do too. And then they're willing to share and open up. And I think that would be um, a good way to motivate them. And then for that second part, do you have any suggestions for mental health activities um, for kids in middle school or high school? I think, sorry, I think um, providing middle schoolers and high schoolers with more coping mechanisms than just like, oh, like relax with the bath at the end of the day, but providing them with more concrete ways to support themselves, because a lot of the time that people have to go like seek out ways to cope rather than having them like available. Um, and I've seen in recent years a lot of schools are having like mental health weeks in May, and those are really helpful because it provides kids with like like they can like spin a wheel and learn about a coping mechanism and get a piece of candy. But usually they're doing it for the candy, but learning about that coping skill is um, something that could be really helpful. So having those mental health activities and incentives, not just during, May when it's mental health month, but having those not like every single day, but throughout the year where kids can access those, I think would be a good activity to have. And then also just having like a mental health club. I know STEM has a really good mental health club, but having that club where people can come to learn about mental health and to de-stress um, is also something that is accessible to kids as well. Yeah. Um, Not seeing any more questions. Um, okay, cool. So if we're all done here, I'm gonna turn it back over to Edie to wrap us up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chashni, for sharing your research with us, for sharing your personal experience with us. I know this has been a huge topic on everybody's minds, just like how much our youth were impacted by this global pandemic event and how we're probably going to be feeling the repercussions of this all over the place for years to come. And so it's really important that we continue to talk about this and we continue to seek out solutions together and just be a united community on this front. So I want to, yes, thank you again so much for sharing this, not just at the Youth Mental Health Conference back in March, exactly 1 month ago, actually. Chashni shared this presentation with us then. I didn't realize it was exactly
I
1 month
didn't,
later
yeah, I
until
didn't know
the
that. That's funny.
yeah, isn't that funny? But I
Yeah.
so appreciate you bringing it to this space as well. And the only other thing I will ask of all of you audience members tonight is if you have the capacity, I do have a demographic program survey to share with you. I'll share the link to that in just a moment. And that is just for, assessing our different programs and securing our funding. And if you have the capacity to fill this out for us, we greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, thank you again, Chashni, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This has been the Evergreen Health sponsored educational forum. We do these monthly. We are officially last Tuesday of every month. We used to do fourth Tuesday, but it got so confusing because some months have 4 and some months have 5. We are officially committing to last Tuesday of every month on Zoom, 7 p.m. We choose a different mental health topic to educate about every month. So we would love for you to join us in the future. And if you have any questions for us tonight, please feel free to email us. I'm dropping our NAMI Eastside. Oops, that's not right. info@nami-eastside.org is the email address to reach out to us, ask us questions. If you have suggestions for a forum topic in the future, we're absolutely open to that as well. But yeah, any closing words from you, Chashni?
I just want to say thank you all for coming to my presentation. I'm so glad you all came, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something. But yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
Bye.